before and after. When I did this for the first time, I was mind blown. I've slept on these things for years, asking myself why my mixes suck. The reason why your drums lose the life. Oof. I know we're only doing drums here, but I'm already thinking, you know, about the master in this process. Okay, so I am ready. Oh, dude, I got my chamomile tea right here, so I'm all set. Today we're going to be talking how to process and mix disco funk drums. I just want to put out there that this is not the only way, or this is not a video, you know, trying to say that this is how you should do your drums. I'm just sharing how I make my drums, and maybe there's something in here that you can learn from. Feel free to, you know, pinch and grab those nuggets of information that resonate with you and apply it to your productions. So yeah, I'll be showing you how I layered my drum sounds, how I processed my kick and snare to get my mix louder, and right at the end I'll be sharing my drum bus processing chain. The drum bus really, you know, glues it all together at the end, which I'm really excited to share with you. So stick around, let's dive into the Ableton project, and then I'll be showing you the layers. Right, so let's start with the hi-hats. I have 2 layers of hi-hats here. In one of these, I think it's this one. Let me just put this on. I sampled the hi-hat of this drum groove from JAFUNK. Shout out to JAFUNK. He has some amazing drum loops that he, and one-shots that he has been putting out on Splice. In general, JAFUNK, he's a crazy dude. If you're working in the disco funk realms, then you will be having a good time if you check out his stuff. So yeah, I sampled his hi-hat and I put it in here, you know, and then I added another layer of hi-hats. You know, both together, they just really, I don't know, it just, it creates some, like a sizzle. I like it. Insane. So then I added, again, I sampled JAFUNK's open hi-hat, you know, here, boom. Ooh, dude, insane. And then I added a few shakers, right? It just adds that movement, dude. I love it. And then we got some claps. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Some snaps. And then don't forget that the tambourine. Love that tambo. So got that in there. My main snare. Isolated in the groove. Yeah. Then I have this cymbal. Also, JAFUNK, dude. He just given the samples. Which one did I use? Oh, it's this one. Come on. I love it. And then the only thing that is missing. Tell me what is missing. Of course, it is the kick, dude. Let's add that kick. Yeah. Oh, dude, that is grooving. So that's about it. That's like, these are all the layers. That is the drum groove of Golden, the chorus, right? this is it. Before we move over to the next section, I forgot to show you these little bad boys. So we got this snare. If you compare it to the main snare, right? It's kind of just like adding an accent to that like last, you know, the here I do it at the end of the bar as well. It's like, love it. Okay, so next section, how I processed my kick and snare. Let's start with the snare drum. So this is what the snare drum sounds like isolated. You know, and I felt like it just sounded a bit thin. So I boosted to bring the body of the snare up a bit and, you know, give it a bit more oomph. I just kind of boosted around like 180 or 170 hertz, I think. What was it here? Yeah, like 170. If you find that your snare is lacking a bit of a body, you know, just boost around that area and you know, bring it up a few dB and just see if it does the job. You know. And then what did I do here? When I made these drums, I don't know what it was, but I liked this preset, Punchy Drums. Let me put this off. Now listen to the difference. Right, let me crank this up, because if you don't hear the difference, you know, there's nothing wrong with you. That's totally fine. I've had moments where I watch tutorials of people like, you know, they're showing the difference of a compressor on an acoustic guitar, and I'm like waiting for the difference, and they're already switching. They've been switching, and I'm like, dude, I cannot hear the difference. What is going on? So hearing the differences in compression, especially when it's only like a few dB, this stuff takes time to hear. So, you know, make it extreme so you can kind of hear maybe what this is actually doing. I'm going to crank this threshold up. Right? But, you know, I don't want it to be too much, otherwise it's going to take away the goodness of the snare. I don't want the original sample to fall apart. That's why I'm just adding it in tastefully. I'm happy with that. And then I added this clipper. Now this is a free clipper you can download. It's called Crispy Clip Lite. Yeah, just gain reduction of 4 dB. And you know, what I try to do is like, I don't want to change the sound as much, but if I'm adding a bit of crunch, I do kind of like that sometimes, you know, so you can't really hear it, but some overtones are being produced when clipping. So you are adding saturation as well by adding a clipper. So as if that wasn't enough, I added another clipper, right? This is the BSA clipper. You know, I'm just like, yeah, we got like a gain reduction of just a few dB, man. If I take these two and I put them off, it's like not changing the tone that much. But if we look at the mixer, right? Have a look at where this is peaking. You can see here in the meter, look where it's peaking, right? Right here. Let me show you a comparison of when the clippers are on and when they are off. So when the clippers are on, it's not changing the sound that much, but it is peaking way, way lower than it was before. This is so good because I don't know if you've ever had this situation, but I would produce songs back in the day and then I would master it and it felt like the life was taken out of it. The punchiness of the drums just got crushed and squeezed by that compressor and the limiter. Everything just fell apart. Like the most exciting part, the chorus that I loved before, became this disappointment. And I was like, dude, what am I doing wrong? You know, the more I seen other people doing this, I was like, I think that's why they do it. So the reason why your drums lose the life in the chorus when you apply that master chain to your mix is because the loudness of like your instruments and the vocals or whatever, you're probably compressing them to a decent amount, you know, to make it sound good. So, you know, they all sound like nice and squeezed in a way, or controlled, let's put it that way. And your drums are peaking, skyrocket high, which is then creating this like crazy contrast between the sounds of your instruments and the sound of the drums, because the perceived loudness of the drums is way lower than what the peak loudness is. It took a while for me to understand that and really like grasp what I'm doing there. But it's like, you know, it's really worth taking the time to like, you know, pay attention to these tiny little details and the little steps that add up at the end. And you know, and not only on compression or on with clipping. I remember watching like a 10-hour course about saturation. What I learned in that course was just by adding it on every layer, but just a tiny bit of it, led to like a way controlled and more, you know, everything just felt like it belongs to each other. And that is kind of like what I learned there. If there's something you can take out of this video, then please let it be to not sleep on the little tiny steps that are gonna, you know, they lead to the bigger picture. Honestly, I slept on this. I've slept on these things for years, asking myself why my mixes suck as soon as I add that mastering chain on my on my mix. And I mean, that's a problem in itself, just to slap that chain on and hope for the best. You know, it's not a one size fits all. Like I said, it's, you know, these things take time and you really need to kind of just trust your ears. Don't sleep on the compressor, the clippers, and your saturation on your individual tracks. So I did that for the snare. On the kick, I literally did the same thing. So we're just boosting, you know, a bit in the low end here. I felt like it needed, you know, that low end, just a little lift there. The solid dynamics, once again, I just really like what it did with the kick. If I turn this off and on, another clipper, dude. I'm telling you, it's the clippers. It's the clippers, man. So once I had that, you know, let's check in the mixer. You know, we got that clean cut at just above minus 12 dB. In context, you know, hitting it hard. So yeah, that's the kick and snare. I need a quick go to the toilet because I've been drinking too much tea, but then we are going to cover the processing of my drum bus. All right, I'm back. So this is the drum bus. The first macros here are controlling the EQ. So, you know, if I want to add some warmth, if I want to reduce the boxiness, and if I want to add some shine, I'm probably going to crank that up. But in this case, I didn't need it. So, you know, just keeping it off. All I'm doing here is I'm adding this like glue compressor. You know, what is that? Just like, you know, probably just a dB, just a little dB of gain reduction. Sometimes it doesn't need more than that. Now, this bad boy is doing the heavy lifting. You know, the 1176 with a preset called drum bus. I love this preset, and all I do here with my macros is I control how much it is compressing, right? So, you know, here we can just, that's all I want. You know, that sounds awesome. I'm loving that. Then what did I do? I added some saturation without and with. Now, if you don't hear the difference, don't worry. Like I said, nothing's wrong with you. Let me just crank the saturation up so you can kind of hear like what a saturator really does. And then I'll bring it back down, you know, and dial it in tastefully so that you can kind of, you know, see why the little nudges make a difference. So you can really see and hear how it's like crushing it together. You know, it's like, it just sounds, you know, it sounds awful. You know, and it can be a stylistic choice as well. If you really like that sound, you know, that's cool. And I do like that sound as well, you know, in some cases. But for this, I wanted that clean tone, but I wanted to get rid of those peaks, you know. The saturator actually, you know, reduces your peaks as well, because it's kind of like, you know, clipper saturator is kind of like the same thing. Yeah, so I just added that. I think I just like, you know, somewhere around 30. Yeah, and that sounds insane to me. You know, so then what did I do? I added another clipper. Yeah, but Keenan, you already added the clipper in the previous section. You even added 2 clippers to your one-shots. And yeah, I did. But if I can clip, now that we're processing the drums in a group, I want to see if I can tame the peaks of, you know, even the hi-hats and everything that is like adding up. And I know we're only doing drums here, but I'm already thinking, you know, about the master in this process. I'm going to be able to really bring this up. So, and you know, it's just the hair. It's just a dB or 2, you know. We're not shaving too much off. Now this utility isn't doing anything. This is where it becomes interesting. What I used here was you know, I love Soothe. Soothe is insane for, you know, taming harsh frequencies. I'm using a preset called Harsh Snare Clap. You know, so we just like, you can see like around this area, you know, that it's kind of like, it's just taking away that harshness from the clap. Then I added another one. This one is like taming the, you know, it's just taking that harshness out of the hi-hats, okay? I think it's even called, yeah, it's called harsh hi-hats. And that is it. Now let me show you a before and after. Chain, activated, and deactivated. Before and after. It sounds so exciting, right? Now let me show you the best part, guys. Check this out. We do not have any processing on here, right? Check out where this is peaking. You know, -8 dB or something, right? But this is quiet, dude. Let me put this on. Bro. This sounds way louder. But the peak, we are not going over that 12, like -12. It's just above -12. But it's like, it's controlled and it sounds exciting, right? That is great. You know, that is crazy to me. When I did this for the first time, I was mind blown. I was like, what, dude? How have I been sleeping on this for so long? Yeah, it is great. It's crazy. The JAFUNK loop that I got from Splice that I used as a reference, where I sampled the hi-hats from, used this part of the hi-hat. You can also hear that I literally just took over the groove. I wanted to create the loop myself with my own one-shots, so that when I create drum fills or transitions that I can customize the groove. I was about to just take the groove, but I was like, nah, come on. I need to at least rebuild it, you know? Check this out. You know, we're peaking up here too, all right? My groove. Way louder, but it's not peaking skyrocket high. So yeah, that was it. That's how I created the drums for my song called Golden. So stay tuned if you want to hear more of that. In the next video, I will be producing the verse of this song. Feel free to subscribe and give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Until then, much love, take care, and bye-bye for now.